So check it out, guys. We're out here in the garage, a little late in the evening, but that's how I gotta do things because I've got two small kids. Anyhow, I'm back here with the Redneck Supra, our 2000 Ford Mustang with our 4.2 Atlas Straight-6 GM Vortec swap, along with our Tremec TKX 5-speed. Now all that's been done in the past. You can check those videos out up here. We've got all that sorted out, but now we're starting to work on a bit of upgrades. Did a test run the other day and found out, well, we've got a lot of bad bushings. So you can see here, lower bushing completely shot, upper bushings kind of going out. So what do? We give a ring up to our buddies at 269 Motorsports, great partners of ours. They've got all kinds of parts you could need for your race car and your street car. And this time, we're gonna get some parts for our Mustang, which is gonna be a little bit of both, street and race. We'll see. So, what do we get? Let's take a look. All right, guys, I couldn't help myself, so of course I've already opened the box, but let's just show you what we've got in here. As you saw, control arm bushings, they're bad. They may be aftermarket control arms. I don't know. You got that red bush, that yellow bushing in there. Who knows? Anyways, it's bad. They're shot. So, called up Tyler, and he said, hey, I've been running Team Z stuff on my car, and I love it. So, we went ahead and went with the double adjustable street setup. So we're still going to run poly bushings. That way, you know, again, the idea behind the Mustang is a little bit of a street strip setup. So we've got our upper here, we've got our adjustables here. This side obviously goes to the car. This side goes to the 8.8. We'll get more on that in a second. And then for the lowers, what I really like about these is we went ahead and went with the, you know, sway bar mounts. Still keep that. Poly bushings both ends, and then our double adjustable. So since we're still running stock spring location, we can adjust our arm without having to worry about taking the spring off. So these are some really nice units. I love the powder coating. Again, you can go on 269motorsports.com. They've got a bunch of different options they can get you. These arrived literally like the next day or 2 days after we got them on order, real quick. Again, nice powder coat, nice solid finish on here. Looks great. So I'm gonna walk you guys through the various steps on how to install this. I've never done it before. So, and it's different than the 8.8 and the 240, completely different setup with how the suspension is. So it'll be a little bit of a learning curve for myself, but let's jump on in. Oh, guys, I also totally forgot to mention, since we are doing this, we're gonna replace the upper bushings as well. You can't see them in there. So I went ahead and picked up these, the Maximum Motorsports upper tool. So this should really help us be able to get those upper bushings out and not having to fight them and install new ones. And then I did pick up, now they're not in here, so tech tip number 1, these are the upper bushings, and all you can see is the bolts and the lock nuts. A bunch of different people make these different kits. I went with the J&M, but I went ahead and put those in the freezer earlier today, so they might be a little easier to get in. So now we're gonna jump on in. So let's get started. Okay, so to get things started, went ahead and jacked this car up. I've got it up on the frame. You can see with the jack stands there. Went ahead and pulled the wheels off just to get them out of our way. And then here you can see again, I know I already showed you guys, but there's another look at that sweet bushing there. That's awfully nice. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the uppers. Turn this light off, you probably see just as good. With this hanging down, they're super easy to get to. So the one on the diff is, they're both 18 millimeter bolts. The nut is on the inside here, and then on the outside in that pocket up there. So you want to kind of note that when you go to put the bolts back in. But just two there. So we're going to take those out and get that arm out. And I'll show you a comparison of the aftermarket arm versus that stock arm. And then we get to do the fun part of removing that bushing. But I'm really hoping that tool I bought makes that a little easier. So get that arm off there, and then take a look at those. With the stock arm removed, we can compare the two. You can see how quite a bit different. You know, this is just a stamped steel looking piece versus a nice tubular style, as well as kind of how the bushings work out. You see where that's open, where this slides over the ear. Those of you that aren't familiar with a 4-link, and the reason it's called 4-link is we've got 4 links that connect both the differential to the body. The upper arms actually sit at a bit of an angle. So if I'm kind of facing the car, they kind of jut out side to side. And really, they kind of provide two things. One, you can adjust your pinion angle with this. So, you know, the nose of the diff, whether it's pointed up, down, straight, etc., how you want that. And there's different ways you want to set that up based on what you're doing with the car. But additionally, they are angled so they keep the differential centered inside the car, so it can't move side to side. You know, in other cars, you might have like a panhard bar, or I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that can't come up top of my head. But that's the idea here. So, I mean, a triangulated 4-link is really one of the best stock suspensions you can get when it comes to, you know, trying to do like drag racing and stuff. So we've got this one out. I'm gonna go ahead and probably do them one at a time. That way we don't nose down the diff, because I think it would probably want to nose dive. I'm not sure. Again, a little bit different than the 240. But what we will do is probably try to line this up and get these holes pretty matched. That way we're kind of in a similar stock orientation, and then we'll measure everything after it's all done. And that's the best part, is because these are adjustable, so we can make those adjustments. So easy to get those out. 2 bolts, 18mm cake. The tough part is, of course, this guy right here. So we'll get that tool out and kind of check out what the instructions say. So guys, I apologize for the lighting. Working at night at the back of the car, could have flipped it around. But again, this is the Maximum Motorsports MMT1 rear upper control arm bushing tool. So here's the pieces laid out. I know some people kind of make their own tool. There's not a lot to it. You've got 2 different pads here for removing and installing the bushings. This cup, which actually is cut at the side, has to do with the fact of where the ears are in the room with the differential, just to give you space. And then the larger cup, as well as bolt, washers, and nut. They do have some stuff on their website. I think a link to the YouTube, show you how to do it. We'll walk through it. It comes with instructions here. I'm going to read through, and then I'll get it all set up, and then as I'm starting to push it out, I'll show you guys what it looks like. But I'm really hoping this makes it a lot easier. Other options, if you don't get the tool, is burning out the bushings, using an air hammer, smacking it out the best you can, kind of doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that, try to get it to work. I opted for the tool. I think it was about 45 bucks, and if it saves me hours of headache, totally worth it. There's a quick look at the bushing that sits in the diff. Let me zoom out. You can kind of get a better idea of what we're looking at. So there's where the pocket up there, where the upper arm goes, and then of course that one. So we're gonna go ahead and replace that dude, push it out, and then get our new bushing in, which I'll show you. Still sitting in the freezer. See the tool cup? That's the larger cup over the outside. Liberal amounts of anti-seize on the washers. Just follow the instructions, guys. It tells you the number of washers, where the cups go in the plates. We're gonna go ahead and, there's a nut on the other side and the smaller plate. We're gonna go ahead and start tightening that up. It should push that bushing into that large cup. And hopefully with relative ease, we get that dude out of there. Let me show you guys a little bit of this in action. You'll know it's working when you hear that popping sound, because that's the bushing pushing it out. So it's quite a bit of force to start off with, then it gets a little easier. So let's run this all the way out. And just like that, we've got the bushing out. This gives you an idea of what it looks like. So again, here's the larger cup that goes on the outside. Your little spacer lines up with the bushing, and bushing's just chilling in there. So just popped it right out, forced it out. So we'll get this all apart, and I think we might get the other one out too while we're doing it, and just do both sides, and then start the reverse process of installing new bearings. And I'll show those to you guys. They're spherical bearings. They're not a urethane like the rest of it, but that's okay. But yeah, this tool, game changer. So it's getting a little late. I'm probably going to end it here. Let me show you the progress. I mean, if they go in as easy as they came out, that's gonna be good. So let's look at what we did so far. As you guys saw, we've got both upper control arms out and both of our upper bushings. And so when you are using this tool, once you force this out of the differential, the whole tool, since this fits inside the ear, the whole tool just comes out. So then you just undo it and start over. So when we go to press them in, I believe we'll be using a combination of these other 2 pieces to push that back in. So I'll show you that in the morning when I get started again. We'll begin by putting our new spherical bushings, which are in the freezer, our upper arms, and then we'll tackle those lower guys. But so far, very happy I bought the tool. It's been a great addition. So I'm gonna get everything pushed back inside the garage, because I'm just sitting here on the edge, And you know, at some point I'm going to clean this garage and I'll have a little bit more room. But for now, we're doing it old school on the ground, and you know, a little bit more time difficulty, but that's what this whole car has been done right here on the ground. And the 240 was built in a tiny little apartment garage, so yeah, why don't we just keep the trend going 13, 14 years later. So I'll catch you guys in the morning for what I'm going to call part 2. 269motorsports.com is your source for the parts you need on your daily driver, street car, or full-blown race car. They carry a wide variety of products stocked in-house, ranging from brake kits, camshafts, exhaust systems, fueling, safety, suspension, wheels, and more. All of this from great manufacturers such as Motion Raceworks, Michigan Motorsports, Brian Tooley Racing, TIC Performance, and Weld Racing, to name a few. 269 Motorsports' mission is to provide the highest quality, fairest price auto parts backed by excellent customer service, which can often be lost with the larger aftermarket retailers. They understand that when their customers order parts, they generally need them ASAP. Therefore, they strive to ship out orders as quickly as possible. So reach out to let them be the source for your automotive needs. 269motorsports.com. And we are back in the garage for our second part of the Team Z control arm install. And over here next to me, I've got our spherical bushings that we just pulled out of the freezer. They've already got a little condensation on them rolling up. So that is going to be what we're going to do next. I'm going to crawl under here. We're going to get these started, hopefully by freezing them. We've shrunk them a little bit, get them a little bit more easier to go in for us. We'll use this new tool, pop those dudes in, and then install our top control arms. And then from there, we'll work towards the bottom. But let's knock those out first. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it goes pretty smooth, just like it did removal. We'll also show you guys how we're going to install those with the new tool. But I'm hoping they just go right in. So these new bushings from J&M, they do come with hardware, little sleeves, as well as the locking nuts. Let's check these instructions. I want to say that the lock nut goes a certain way, so that we can make sure we're putting these in the right way. Let's see, remove, freeze the bushings overnight. Tap the bushings into the ears of the axle with a rubber mallet until firmly seated. Make sure to install them so the nut is on the center side of the car. So we'll make sure that this is on the inner side of it, and then we'll go ahead and thread that up. And it wants us to go ahead and only 20 foot-pounds, so pretty easy. So it makes it seem like we'll be able to tap these in. So we'll try that. I've got a rubber mallet around here somewhere. We'll try tapping those dudes in first, and if we can't get them in all the way, we'll go ahead and finish them off with the tool. Before I do go and put these in here, make sure you feel around here that there's not any sharp edges or anything. Feel free to take some sandpaper cloth. These are actually really smooth, surprising with how rusty and crusty this looks. Inside here is nice. So I went ahead and just wiped it out with a rag, and we're going to go ahead and put that first bushing right in there. Guys, I just want to show, by freezing these, how much easier this makes this whole process. They just slip right in there. So highly recommend that. We didn't even have to smack them in there. Nice clean groove. We'll get that in there. I'm sure the other one will go. And as that starts to heat back up, it should go ahead and grab. So we'll get the other one in and then lock those in place. So installation of the upper arms is fairly simple. Of course, we have two ends. We'll put this end up into the pocket. Slide that in. And then this end will go over our bushing. So we'll go ahead and run a bolt through that top one real quick. A little difficult to do with one hand. And then I'll show you where we need to put our bushing spacers in here and lock this in as well. These guys here come with the spacers, sorry. Spacers come with the bushings, and they take up the space. They actually just sit inside here like that, one on each side, and that way this fits perfectly up against that. I'll run our bolt through. So there you have it. There's the upper. Now I haven't tightened anything down. I'm going to leave everything loose as we get started on our bottom control arms. Again, having not done this before, I'm kind of just making my own way through it. But there are, of course, two bolts that hold the lower control arm, this rear bolt, and then another one that's hidden up in that pocket. Probably take the jack stand, put it underneath here because we do have springs holding those lower control arms, putting tension on them. So I'm going to put the jack underneath back here, take this bolt out, slowly lower it down, and hopefully we'll be able to pop out that spring and then get our front bolt out. We'll do that one first, see if we get it through. And then, like I said, once everything's in here, all the new parts, we'll go ahead and adjust everything and get it straightened out. So that's going to be step one. And clearly this is our biggest offender when it comes to old, gross, dirty bushings. And guys, I know that this housing is a little crusty at some point. Way down the road, we'll probably pull it out, get it all nice painted and coated, just like the one on the 240. Now, if you live in the Midwest, like I do, and you deal with rusty, crusty cars, you're familiar with this process, but we're just putting a little heat on this. Can't seem to get it to move at all on either end, so we're going to heat it up, get a little expansion, and hopefully she plays nice and comes loose. And right now, that thing does not want to move, and I'm trying not to strip it out. So hopefully this works. There are other solutions if we need it, but this is what we're going to try first. Okay, after a bit of heat, a few choice words, we got the bolt out. I've got the jack underneath here. I'm going to slowly let this down. Let's see what happens. Should begin to drop that down. Yep. Okay. I'm going to continue to let this down. I'm going to use both hands. I'm going to put the camera down for a moment, and then maybe we'll unbolt the other side and let the whole thing swing down. Might be the easiest way about it. All right, so we have both lowers unbolted, spring pulled out. I would advise pulling the sway bar off first. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with a lot of rust and some bolts that just didn't play nice. I think the factory setup is this captured nut, which decided when I used my impact to pull the bolt out from the other side, it decided to just spin and spin and spin. So I had to get a pair of vice grips on it after I heated it up. So once you get the sway bar off, hopefully you don't have to fight the issues. This is out of the way, it makes it significantly easier. We'll go ahead and get those two bolts from the fronts out with the pockets. On mine, it was a 21 and an 18, but I can't guarantee you that's the same for yours. But let me just step back and really kind of just tell you guys the process of this. So again, we'll jack up the car, kind of step one. Step two probably would be to remove the sway bar if you're not fighting the rust issues I am. In step three, you want to jack up this rear end, get this rear bolt out, drop this down. From there you can pull your spring out, which you can see is sitting back over there. And then once that's out, you get your front out, pull this whole lower arm down. So we're gonna get that front bolt out. I've already got the other one off. And we'll be able to slide this whole contraption out with the sway bar for the moment. See if I can finish getting it unbolted to move over to the new one. If not, we'll go ahead and put our arms in and we'll deal with the sway bar at a later time. Okay, we got that other bolt out, so let's slide this out. Get a good look at these bushings. So, current bushings that were in this thing. I mean, the sleeve fell out of this one. I can tell you how bad it is. You got to get the other bolts out. I'm going to deal with this sway bar after we get everything back in because it's a bolt-on affair. Afterwards, we'll get some fresh hardware. I don't know, I may even get a different sway bar, who knows, or grind this one down and clean it up, or I don't know. We'll see. It bolts down here to the bottom. This is nice and clean. Team Z, 269 Motorsports. Have I mentioned that? Anyhow, the other thing I'm not sure about is these have isolator bushings that are kind of junk, so I might need to see if I need to replace that or if these just sit on here. I almost want to do a collar and do a lowering spring while we've got it out, but we'll see. I don't know. That might be something. I also want to drive it. It's nice out. I mean, look, it's just absolutely gorgeous outside. So that's out. I'm going to move this out of the way, clean up some of this rust, get my work area a little organized, and then get those bottom ones back in. But all in all, 4 bolts on the sway bar. Do that first, then 4 bolts on here. Support it with a jack, and you'll get done. I don't know if it matters if you do the bottom first and the top. I just felt like the top was easier to do first. I thought it was going to be harder. Joke was on me. All right, so now it's time for reassembly of our lowers. One of the things I didn't think about ahead of time are these isolators for the springs. This perch actually sits up quite a bit taller. Here's the other side. You can see it actually fully encapsulates. Try that again. Anyways, what I did was I ended up just cutting the top out because I didn't buy a new set of these, and arms don't come with any. Again, race car, probably not a big deal. Street strip. I kind of want that. So I just cut that out and put that on there. I plan on putting some lowering springs, whether we do some kind of coilover on here or just a, you know, 1.5 inch drop spring or whatever. I got to look into that more. But we're going to keep the isolators, so I just cut the top off. That way at least the metal spring is not touching the metal arm. Get a little bit of cushion there. We're going to slide up under there and put these back on as well. Make sure we get our springs on. There's a rubber isolator up there. We're going to start by putting, I think, the fronts in on both sides. And then we'll go ahead and get the jack underneath the diff like that, and that way we can move it in position to put our bolts in there. And we'll be using our brand new big bolt kit. You'll notice I have 2 leftover bolts. Those bushings that I have actually used a little bit smaller bolt, so we used the bolts that came with that kit. So make sure you double check what you need. These were a little bit too big for those bushings. So let's get this guy in there. 2 things to keep in mind when you're adjusting this. So I just adjusted it so it's similar length as the stock one. Try to keep the distance on these threads and these up here similar, because you want to kind of keep this collar in the middle. You don't want to go adjusting this and pull all the threads out of here or all of there. I believe there's probably a few more into this larger piece, so I did put a little more here. The other thing to keep in mind with this design, with the spring and the roll bar attachment here, if you want to extend this side, you have to do a complete full 360 rotation, so this is back on the bottom. With this being symmetrical, you can just do a half a turn. So if the distance you need, you're looking for, you're going to get a larger amount of movement by flipping this one complete rotation. And then if you need a smaller adjustment, you can just do the top. But that's just while we're initially setting it up. Once it's in the car, you'll adjust everything from this center piece here. So let's put this one in. We'll get our front bolt in like the other one hanging down, and then we'll get the back and the spring in. Let me show you guys real quick what the you might run into on this. For the lower control arms, actually 2 different size bolts as far as diameter. You have a larger bolt here, which connects to the chassis, and a skinnier bolt, which connects to the differential. Now, when you do the bolt upgrade kit, and again, these are nice you know, grade bolt here. This actually uses a larger bolt like the chassis side. The issue you run into is it doesn't fit through the pocket on the differential. So we did have to go ahead and get a new drill bit. So I went and grabbed a 9/16, the easiest size to find. I didn't have one, so I had to go around and get one. Drill the holes in there, and I'll show you that in a second. And the other reason you want to use this larger bolt is it actually fits the bushing better. They were actually using the skinnier one, which even on those old control arms was actually too small. So I'll show you why you want to drill that out and use this larger one in just a second. So here's where you have to drill. Like I said, I just took my drill bit, drilled straight through here on both sides, and now our larger bolt fits, which is what we need to do. But the most important piece about this is you see the sleeve here is thicker. So that larger bolt fits in there nice and snug. If you use the skinnier bolt, or what was in factory, then you're going to have a gap here. And this bolt is going to just move back and forth, which is probably what may have really didn't help the situation with the old control arm. So we've got this drilled out. We're going to drill out both sides. And then I'm just using this smaller floor jack to line this up because we have our spring up in our upper pocket as well as our lower. So we're just going to use the floor jack and move this up. And obviously we can adjust the length, and we'll get this bolt through here and tightened up. And we'll go ahead and do the other side after. So check it out. We've got our bars all adjusted, tightened down. Here's an example of the upper bar, of course. I just measured the factory length of the factory bars and set that up. We'll go ahead and adjust those at a later time when I can maybe get it on a 4-post. Here is the lower bar. You can see adjusted as well. I want to say it was about 13.5, 13.75 length. That upper bar was like 9.5, 9.25. Additionally, you'll see the e-brake cable right in front of us, and there's a small wire that goes to probably the wheel speed. I don't know if I'll even be able to use that, but for now I zip tied it up out of the way. There is another bracket that goes from here to the control arm, but it doesn't really work with these, doesn't really reach in the right spot. So there's another bracket factory here. You can see it's a nice look at it. It holds it up and out of the way. You can see, like, we're just running Cobra wheels, so we've got plenty of space there. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. So we're gonna go ahead and put the wheel on. I've already got the other wheel on the passenger side on and clean up our tools, and hopefully we can go take this thing for a test drive. Maybe go see our buddy Todd, I don't know. But the other thing I wanted to point out to you guys is, if you noticed, I've been wearing 269 merch, 3 different things. I had 2 of their shirts and a hoodie on the other day. If you're on the website buying parts, be sure to check out their merch section. Their hoodie and shirts are so comfortable, some of the nicest stuff I think I have of all the merch apparel I have from various folks and vendors. So be sure to grab one of those as well while you're on the website. Let's get this wheel on and go get this thing out on the road. All right, guys, we're out of the garage. Went ahead and adjusted the front suspension a little bit as well, and we're going to take this thing for a test drive. I've got it connected to the HP tuners because the gauges aren't set up yet. That'll be another project. So let's fire this thing up and let's go see what it does. Now, it might sound a little loud when it first gets started. We don't have a full exhaust on that. I got a video coming on that later. But for now, we're gonna let it warm up for a minute, idle down, go take it for a rip. Using my phone for a speedometer at the moment. Steering wheel's nice and straight, straighter. Definitely feels better. Drivability is great. I feel like rear suspension's nice. We definitely need to get these brakes a little better. Right now it just sounds like a truck with an exhaust leak. Yeah, we got that steering much better than it was before. I test drove this once before, and to be truthful with you guys, the steering wheel was completely sideways. We need to lock in that dash, but yeah, this is great. Driving pretty good. So guys, driven it around a good bit here, and love it. Car seems super happy. Almost spot on. I got this front alignment. I mean, the wheel is straight and it's driving straight. I just eyeballed it. I'm sure it probably needs a little more work, but it's pretty good. Man, I can't wait for this clutch to be in so we can just romp on it. I think once we get that exhaust, it's gonna sound good. Well, that about wraps up this latest project. To recap, we have the Team Z upper and lower control arms on the rear of this car. Made a huge difference in the road drive. Also fixed the front suspension. We got that toe, the camber all in line. Probably need to put it on a professional rack and get it checked out, but for now, very happy with that. Want to say a big shout out again to Team 269 Motorsports. So check out 269motorsports.com. They've got anything you could look for your car, your daily driver. You might find something for that, as well as your race car, or maybe something like the Mustang, a little bit of street strip, a little bit of both there for you. One of the things that we need to do is address that exhaust. We've got about half an exhaust on here. I got a video coming out for that, but we got to finish that exhaust. So we're gonna head over to Jake's over Fish Fab. You've seen him do the turbo kit on the 240, the exhaust on the S10, and now he's gonna finish up that over axle stuff for us on the 240. We got a nice little treat on what we're gonna do on that. Something a little different you might not see on a Mustang. Hopefully it turns out how I have it up in my head. I'm excited for it. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to comment down below what you think of the project, and we'll catch you on the next one.